Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx with me, Devika Chopra. Over 1,600 people have been killed after the earthquake in Myanmar. Estimates are that numbers could be much higher. The world is sending aid to help out Myanmar in these times of crisis. India has deployed 118 member teams as well. But reports have suggested that Myanmar's military junta is continuing its airstrikes in Nuanglin village in northern Shan state. What's even more surprising is that the strikes took place around 3:30 p.m. local time, less than 3 hours after the earthquake. Fighting has continued in Myanmar since the military coup in 2021. The earthquake has made matters tough for the people of Myanmar. Rescue efforts have also slowed down due to the massive destruction that's seen in visuals and satellite images. However, it seems that the war continues. What exactly is prompting the military junta of Myanmar to continue its war in this time of natural disaster? Will China, a country that has major influence in Myanmar, intervene and pause the civil war? Some of these questions we take forward. I have with me Ambassador Deepak Vora. We also have with us Professor Madhav Nalapa, the editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, Major General Gigi Dwivedi, global strategic and defense expert, and also Major General Sudhakarji, geopolitical strategist, with us on the broadcast. Let me begin this conversation, if I can, with Major General Gigi Dwivedi. I want to understand, Major General Dwivedi, from your perspective, firstly, when countries like Myanmar, where there is political as well as military instability and there is an ongoing civil war, when such countries are hit by a natural disaster, how much more difficult do the overall rescue and aid operations become for nations who genuinely want to extend help at this point in time, such as India, such as Thailand, and other nations as well?
Well, Devika, I think you have given a fairly good background as to what the situation is now. Well, I think this earthquake could not have come at a worse time. It is indeed catastrophic because Myanmar is facing the civil war since last 4 years, and on top of that, this tragedy has struck. I think is almost a unfortunate double whammy. Well, first and foremost, our sympathies with the people of Myanmar because they are in a very, very dire situation, and my family and me, we share very deep connect with the state because our family was connected with Myanmar for more than half a century. My grandfather was civil surgeon there, my dad was born there, and I commanded my division where the India-Bangladesh border was. Now, coming specifically to three very important issues. First and foremost, the civil war is on for last about 4 years, and there are different groups who are in the fray. And today, the situation is almost 41% of the state is under the rebel groups, and only 21% of the state is under control of the Myanmar junta or the government. The second point is that today is very unfortunate. The humanity, I think, has fallen at the lowest level when you see that people are dying, people are buried, and both the sides are engaged in war. It's not one-sided because the rebel groups will like to take maximum advantage of the situation, and Myanmar army has never held back. They have used the maximum force against the rebel groups. Coming to Chinese, well, China has always played its card to suit its national interest, and Chinese, in fact, have a ceasefire agreement on the north with Kachin army because that's where the mines are there, the minerals are there, and Chinese are only interested in their own national interest. How difficult it is for in the countries like India now to extend it, well, I think it's a very difficult situation because on one hand, the countries want to come forward, on the other hand, the current dispensation is fighting the civil war. I think the situation is very critical, or I can say the good sense must prevail, both on the Myanmar army and the rebel groups. Take a pause. Take a pause for the good of your countrymen because the hundreds and hundreds who are buried, let these agencies who are coming to give civil aid, let them do their work, and especially countries like India and other neighbors they want to extend their help, and they should have the opportunity to do so. But all I can say is that let wisdom prevail, let humanity prevail, and let there be a pause in the fighting so that the rescue operation can go unhindered. Devika.
Okay, I want to bring in Professor Madhav Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, countries like US and EU have over many decades now imposed series of sanctions on Myanmar's military and other businesses and figures that are associated with the military. But they've had very little impact as far as bringing the civil war to an end is concerned. Meanwhile, the country has been drained financially to a point that it's considered to be one of the most impoverished countries in the entire region. How critical does it then become for the aid, financial and otherwise, to continue into Myanmar at the time of this natural disaster, and for there to be some mediation that could possibly bring an end to, or bring a pause at least, to the civil war situation?
Devika, I don't see any prospect of mediation. The Chinese are expert at playing both sides against the middle, and they have been supporting these rebel groups, and frankly they're also supporting the Myanmar junta. And as you correctly said, a lot of ground has been ceded to the rebel groups. From the very beginning, I've been in favor of India standing with the democracy that Aung San Suu Kyi demonstrated. She was an elected head of state, and Aung San Suu Kyi was the only person with the moral authority to try and bring these elements together, and she succeeded to a considerable extent. It's because she's locked up, there's a coup, and she's in prison, that there has been a kind of collapse of public sentiment in almost all of Myanmar, and the military is facing a situation of military disaster. Now, I mean, frankly, I've never supported the junta. I've always supported Aung San Suu Kyi, but even I am shocked at the inhumanity that is shown by the Myanmar military in bombing at this point in time. If there was any way of winning over the people who are disaffected, it would be by not bombing. By bombing them, the military shows utter unconcern for the public need, utter unconcern for the public interest, and frankly, now you can understand for yourself by this policy why they are losing this war. Now, as far as India is concerned, it is a worrisome development, because bombing in the middle of a aid campaign, if heavens forbid, some of those projectiles fall on the Indian rescue workers, it will have very unfortunate consequences back home. And there are other countries also that are active. Of course, China, naturally, Russia, and even the US is now trying to get into the mix. So having said that, it's not at all helpful to have this kind of a military operation, bombing take place at a time when these operations are being conducted. And I think there should be gentle pressure put on the Myanmar junta to stop such operations, at least until the rescue operations conclude. Devika.
Okay, Ambassador Deepak Vora, I want to bring you in on the Chinese aspect a bit as well, because ultimately, when someone wonders which country probably has some influence in Myanmar, the one name that does pop up is China. Now, China, as Professor Madhav Nalapat also pointed out, has been playing both sides. That they have initially, when the military coup happened, they were in support of the military. However, then they grew very frustrated with the military, so they started backing some of the ethnic groups as well. But eventually they became frustrated with the ethnic groups, and now they've gone back to showing support to the military. So clearly China will only ever want to focus on its own interests, and its own interests right now are ensuring that it puts in place people that act as its own puppets, and also securing its own borders and other scams that have proliferated ever since the military coup happened, and that's directly impacting Chinese citizens as well. But given this entire situation, do you feel that somewhere, is there a possibility of China intervening to at least have a word with the military junta and expect them to stop the war?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Always a pleasure to be with you on your amazing channel. I learned so much from you. And then you have the two generals. You have Professor Nalapat. You don't need me. Their knowledge is much greater than mine, even though I've been to Myanmar several times. I have something to say to Professor Dwivedi. Professor Dwivedi, I'm a son of Chanakya. The community should. Sir, throw should out of the window. हमने देखी है म्यांमार की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को जनरल द्विवेदी ये ख्याल अच्छा है कि कम्युनिटी ये करेगी वो करेगी, कुछ नहीं करेंगे. Why is the junta continuing its bombing campaign? By the way, I love that comment. The earthquake could not have come at a worse time. Is there a good time for an earthquake to come? I'm not familiar with that. Do educate me on it. As far as the junta is concerned, what are they scared of? That the rebels will use this to regroup. Now, we have sent the relief supplies within 24 hours. 3 of our planes, 2 of our ships, 118 personnel manned, military field hospital, etc. We are sending it to Naypyidaw, to Yangon. It'll go to the regime. And then we are telling them, please deliver it to the concerned people. The West, their power gone, their money gone, their arrogance intact, says, oh, we'll ensure that it is delivered to the people. How are you going to do it? Paradrop it there? Are you going to send your people? How will we know that there are no weapons in what you are dropping there? You've been supporting the rebels for so long. If I were in the military junta today in Myanmar, I'd take a realistic view, not an idealistic view. Say, all right, these guys want to send it, give it to me. I will take it over there. And I'm bombing them because I have evidence. I'm being the devil's advocate and speaking on behalf of the junta. I don't like that, but I'm speaking on their behalf, that I have evidence that these guys are regrouping. Sir, I've seen this during my career in Sudan. I've seen this in Zimbabwe. I've seen this during civil wars in Africa, where the government and the rebels fight over whatever relief supplies are being sent so that they can control it, so they can dole it out to the citizenry, so to speak, the victims who do not have to choose side. I mean, they want them all on their side. I've seen this. This is exactly what is going on in Myanmar. As far as China is concerned, China's influence in Myanmar, ma'am, is less than zero, because they shift allegiances. No one trusts them. Now, let me quote to you a message that the same question I had asked a friend of mine in Myanmar, Professor Nalapat, you know the name, I shall not take it. I asked him, will you take assistance from China? And please see the message that came on WhatsApp this morning. WhatsApp is turned on. He said, the 2 names that are detested in Myanmar are 1, the army, 2, China. I hold my peace. I have nothing more to say. No, China has no influence. They are not going to be able to do what? Tell the junta to stop bombing. The junta will say, all right, you get rid of the rebels. That's the quid pro quo. I would do it if I were a realist, if I were in government. So, ma'am, if you want a totally, shall I say, a practical point of view, a Chanakyan point of view about this, the bombing is not going to stop. India's support to the regime in terms of the assistance we are giving, hoping and telling them that please distribute it amongst the affected people, that's the best way of doing it. Sending it directly there, no, it's not going to work. We have trouble in Manipur if these jokers from the West start saying, oh, we are going to go into Manipur and give it directly to those people. Who the hell do you think you are? The colonial period ended many years ago. Nobody cares about it. Give it to the legitimate government. The military junta, legitimate or not, it's the ruling regime. You have to deal with them. I rest my case.
Okay, Major Sudhakar ji, bring you into the conversation. I want to understand from your perspective, why has there then been such little interest across the global community in solving the conflict in Myanmar?
Devika, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. The time available in the discussion will not allow me to dilate on the issue, but very quickly, allow me to touch upon the highlights. First and foremost thing is, why is this bombing taking place and where is it taking place? Is it anywhere close to the epicenter of earthquake in Myanmar? The answer is yes. There is Sagae and there is a border bordering the Thailand. In Sagae province, there is a group of militants who belong to NUG. NUG came about into existence in 2021. Subsequently, it was reinforced with another group called as EOA. These are ethnic armed organizations which comprises of many channels, many platforms. They say 9 to 10, but my calculations give me to justify there are 26 of them. There are Kokis, there are Maitais, different groups are there. So why this bombing is taking place? The bombing is taking place, very rightly brought out by you, is essentially the alliances have shifted. Earlier, same Tatmadaw used to be supported by China. Now the Tatmadaw is actually China is gunning for them. Why is it happening this way? Why are the armed ethnic rebels gone against them, the pro-democracy parties that we are talking of? Why is it so? It is so because Myanmar is what it is. I tend to agree with Ambassador Deepak Bora, the way he's articulated couldn't have been better. But the fact of the matter remains. Why is it that Myanmar is what it is today? I just want to very briefly, if time permits, again refer to the same book, the Great Game East. Great Game East, Littner's.
Yeah.
Read that book, it amplifies adequately, page number 306. It says there is a Lieutenant Colonel of Myanmar Army who was given an exclusive task to carry out a research. There was an agreement between China and Myanmar. China was supposed to have gone in to build a dam at across Irrawaddy at a place called Mitsun, and $3.6 billion. And that was the time when Myanmar was getting fed up. Why this situation came wherein they became so pro-Chinese? It became like this because in 1988, because of pro-democracy movement, there was a huge assassination. There was people who were gunning for these people. They killed in large numbers. The world went against Myanmar. There were sanctions imposed. A time came when Myanmar got fed up with China. They raised the hand. Thein used to be the president. He came into power in 2011. That is the time Barack Obama was in power. He said, you show me some tangible proof. The tangible proof of you or your leanings shifting towards me. So that is the time when the agreement which has been signed between China and Myanmar in 2006 was changed. It was actually abrogated or revoked, I would say. And that agreement was the turning point in the relationship of the strategic rivalry that we witness today. The strategic rivalry is between the expansionism of China, which is essentially to secure and make the corridor of CMEC safe so that they have a easy access with the warm water in the Bay of Bengal, against the strategic dominance that America is trying to get in against China and counter and contain it effectively. So is it because of that the bombing is taking place? The answer is no. The bombing is taking place because of late the pro-democracy parties, they have actually been reinforced substantially, be it in terms of weapons or ammunition or in terms of material support. Who's giving them support? Is China giving them support? I don't know. I don't have an answer. Is America giving them support? Possibly, could be. If that be so, I have no proof, no evidence. But then my logic says somebody is supporting them. And if the support is going that way, then is Myanmar to remain unruly in this rules-based international order the way it is? Certainly not. The whole world must get together, must put its best act in the right direction, take a suitable course of action so as to keep Myanmar under a focus and control all its activities, because China's interest in Myanmar are twofold. One is the secure access for the energy security, CMEC, and second one is the mineral. The mineral are in abundance which China has been trying to harness and harvest, and it has been exploiting Myanmar to the hilt. Last but not the least is the hydropower energy which China is looking at. Therefore, China has invested around $15 billion in past 20 years. They have been committed on ground in form of SEZ, in roads, highways, railway networks are coming up, pipelines are being extended. But most importantly, there is one thing which is coming up for sure in Myanmar, is a pipeline all along the border between India and Myanmar, connecting with the gas reserve which have been found between Bangladesh and Tripura, hugging the borders with Myanmar, going right across. There is a pipeline going across through the Chin province right up to the Yunnan province of China. This is the pipeline on which China reportedly has invested something close to $7 to $8 billion to actually have a secure transshipment or transportation of gas from Bangladesh border right up to the Yunnan province. I don't know. I do not have any evidence to support my argument that it is being successfully being transported, but the money has been invested. So is there any means to bring some sense into the irrational behavior of the Tatmadaw? Certainly yes. US can put pressure. They have The CIA is operating there. CIA bases are existing in Thailand itself. So therefore, I would say that let some wisdom dawn into the minds of the Tatmadaw. Let people who matter put pressure on Tatmadaw or the military junta of Myanmar, bring some sense into the mind and tell them that stop this damsel bombing of areas in the Shan province, north of Shan, very close to the Bangkok or the Thailand border, where the epicenter of conflict has been reported, as also to the Sagaing province. Back to you, Devika.
Okay, I want to bring in Major General G.D. Dwivedi as well into the conversation. Major General Dwivedi, I want to understand also, the military junta actually promised that they will be holding elections sometime this year. Will they really be delivering on that promise, in your assessment?
Before I answer your question, Devika, I'd like to clarify to Ambassador Vora what he tried to articulate, I think misunderstood me. First and foremost, what I said was that wisdom dawns on both the sides, because both the sides are not going to respond to pressure, because the situation is that the militants or the rebels will like to take advantage. And when I said the catastrophic situation could not come at the worst time, that worst time was for the Myanmar army, because they are already lost almost 60% of the state. So when I said that catastrophic situation, that are meant for the Myanmar army and not the general statement. I hope Ambassador Vora, I answered your response. Secondly, now the question is that this war is not going to end. Simple reason, because the rebels are riding the tide. They are actually winning, and therefore when any side wins, they are not going to give way. And two things are very important to understand. One is China's interest. I'm sorry to say, but the ground situation is Myanmar is highly Sinicized. You go to Namtu, you go to Lasho, with the areas I have been, you go to Mandalay, the majority of the population is Chinese, and Chinese are married to the Myanmari women. So therefore, it's wrong to say that Myanmar is not Sinicized or there's no influence. Myanmar is highly Sinicized, and I can say this from my own personal view on the ground. The second important factor is why Chinese are so interested. Because Chinese are interested in warm water ports. They have already made a beautiful port at Chai Phu. Then they are coming to Chittagong to make a port. Then they have a port at Hamban Tota. They are going to come to Gwadar. They have a port at Djibouti. So therefore, they have laid the necklace all around Indian Ocean. And my last point is that this situation is not going to improve, because as I feel that military junta is matter of time, that they will not be able to hold on, because they just 20% of the territory, and militants or the rebel groups are going to get support from Chinese, because Chinese always support the winning side. So Chinese are waiting and watching. Moment they find that the rebel groups have got the upper hand and they are sure of victory, the Chinese will come in and they'll take the call which is in their national interest. Devika.
Okay, I leave the last word with Professor Madhav Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, same question to you. Do you feel that somewhere due to the natural disaster, could this possibly be used now as a ploy for the military junta to continue the delay in delivering on their promise of holding elections in Myanmar?
They're not going to hold elections so long as there's the remotest danger of Aung San Suu Kyi coming close to power. And frankly, she's still the most popular politician across different sections of society in Myanmar. You'll recall after the coup, a lot of people crossed over into India, and they crossed over into a very sensitive border state. And I had said at that point in time, it's a mistake to have admitted them, because they're heavily under the influence of China. And so it is proved by subsequent events in that sensitive state. So I'd only like to say the military is caught in a cleft stick. Yes, China is not reliable. Yes, China is supporting the Chin groups. There's no doubt about it. But the reality, and that's why, for example, some of them have caused so much trouble in India, which is part of the Chinese strategic objective. But the reality is, frankly, Devika, that I think a very important point has been raised regarding the pipeline. And it is a reality that the Chinese are competing now with India, with the United States, with other countries. And energy is a very critical part of that kind of competition. So yes, I think the pipeline is front and center of their attention, and they would like to protect it. Therefore, they will continue to play both sides. The Tatmadaw is dependent on China for its weaponry. So are the rebels, frankly, and they will continue to play both sides. And they're expert at doing that, which is why they have a reputation, to put it mildly, for unreliability in several parts of the world.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.